What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to tcgo's Network. Today we're looking at the first and second place decks from the recent Pokemon Japan Championships 2021, which was a major in real life event for the video game and the trading card game. I do not know how many players participated in this for either the TCG or the video game, but hopefully I will find that information before making more content on this when I look over the top 16 or possibly even the top 32 decks from this event later in the week. But today we'll be looking at the first and second place lists. Now, do note that this format is similar to what our standard format in the TPCI jurisdiction will be once we get Evolving Skies. So this is essentially team up on, but they do have a couple less cards in their team up equivalent set. They do not have Jirachi Stellar Wish. They do not have the Eviltal with Free Retreat. They do not have Tapu Koko Prism. So these cards sometimes don't affect much, but you may notice them missing from decks that you might expect to see them in, or even if it's not the decks we look at today, further down the line when you're perusing Japanese decks and results. Keep in mind that their format is just a tiny bit different than ours. So here on the screen, I have the YouTube channel where you can watch the event. You can watch both day 1 and day 2's streamed matches over here on this YouTube channel. Now, of course, this YouTube channel is in Japanese and I do not speak Japanese, so I am at the mercy of Google Translate a lot of times when I'm doing this kind of content, but I will leave a link to this YouTube channel in the description down below. Just wanted you guys to see what it'll look like to make sure you're on the right YouTube page when you're looking for the live stream from these events. Real quick before we look at the decks, shout out to potownstore.com. You can use code CELIO for 5% off over there when you're shopping for Pokemon TCG online codes. Save yourself some money and also support my channel. And also check out PokemonCard.io. It's a great deck building website, and you can also share decks and find my decks over there as well. I have a link down in the description below. It's completely free to use, and I have all of my current standard format decks up there and ready to be exported for PTCGO. So let's look at the second place deck from the Pokemon Japan Championships 2021 Masters Division. Here we are looking at a Mewtwo and Mew welder box with the new single strike Umbreon vmax in it. And I believe the pilot of this deck's name is Nabashi Hirokazu. If I mispronunciate that, if anybody actually knows, please correct me, but I believe I got their name right. I at least wanted to give it a shot. So this is a Mewtwo welder deck, which a lot of this is going to look very familiar to all of the non-Japanese viewers here, because this is a deck that has been very popular pretty much worldwide for Pokemon TCG ever since Mewtwo was out for Worlds 2019 and Henry Brand won with it. So this deck is using a 2/2 line of Umbreon vmax, which is a card that we will be receiving in the Evolving Skies set, and Japan got it in Eevee Heroes. So let's focus on that for a second. The Umbreon V is really nothing to note, but the V Max is really quite good. When you evolve the V Max, the ability allows you to use a boss's orders like effect and bring up a Pokemon from your opponent's bench up into the active spot. So that's really great that you can use this gust effect or the boss effect without using a supporter, just simply by evolving your Pokemon. Now, Umbreon VMAX doesn't stop there. Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, which is a very strong and popular deck, and possibly even the deck we're looking at next after this. Shadow Rider Calyrex is weak to Dark, and Umbreon's attack, its only attack, Umbreon VMAX, for Dark colorless, it just does a vanilla 160 damage, and to a Dark weak Pokemon, that will do 320. So with an Aurora energy attached and Welder 2 fires, you can use Umbreon VMAX's attack to do 160, and that will one-hit knockout a Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. So that is really quite good for both the gusting effect and for clean one-hitting a Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, which is one of the strongest cards in the game right now. This deck does include a single Shadow Rider Calyrex V. And I really love this because Shadow Rider Calyrex V is one of those unique situations, at least in our current game, where the V of the VMAX Pokemon is quite playable and is useful in a lot of situations, and even here it's being played without the vmax. So Shadow Rider Calyrex V's first attack for a psychic energy does 10 damage and says your opponent cannot play special energies or stadiums next turn. Now, this can completely lock out just a small amount of decks that only play special energies. Think things like Mad Party or maybe Rapid Strike decks that are only using Rapid Strike energy and Spiral energy. But that can sometimes even just choke up a deck that's playing some Auroras and some basics if that's all you have for a turn. Now, the second attack is what I really love about it. Astral Barrage for 3 colorless energy, so you don't even need an Aurora on it. It does 5 damage counters to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So this can be used to clean up 2 Pokemon that you hit for pretty good damage earlier on but didn't finish the knockout. Or it can also be used against the Rapid Strike Malamar deck because the Rapid Strike Inkays only have 50 hit points. So you can use Horror House from Gengar Mimikyu Tag Team on turn 1 to basically stop the game for a turn, and then next turn Welder attached to Calyrex V, use Astral Barrage and clean knockout 2 Inkays at once. And most of the time they're not going to be able to get more than 2 Inkays down on their first turn, maybe 3 if they're lucky and they had a couple in hand or a lot of Ball Search cards in the hand. So that Shadow Rider Calyrex V is a really cool inclusion that I'm a big fan of. Galarian Zapdos V is in here. They've got 2 of them, and that's great against Gengar VMAX and also Eternatus VMAX, of course. But it's also just a great 1 energy attacker against anybody that's putting down a lot of V Pokemon. Maybe you want to power up something on the bench with Welder, or you're just not drawing too well, but you have a quick ball and an energy. Galarian Zapdos V can get you some damage and maybe hold you over until the next turn. So this is the second place deck from the Pokemon Japan Championships 2021 Masters Division. A Welder Mewtwo box using the 2/2 line of Umbreon VMAX. You'll be able to use that Umbreon VMAX in the Welder box over on PTCGO for a couple weeks in Standard when Evolving Skies comes out before rotation happens. So maybe put this one down in your notes if it's a deck that you really want to try out before rotation hits. Now, our next deck is something that you're probably quite familiar with because this is almost exactly how a lot of players are building and seeing success with Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX in the Play.Limitless tournaments that a lot of TPCI players play in online, and a fair amount of players from Asia do compete in them as well. But this is a Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX with a thin line of Alchemy VMAX, bordering on a midline, I guess, with the 2/2 Alchemy. Myself, I've been playing a 1/1 Alchemy, but I have been considering anywhere from a 1/1 to a 2/2 Alchemy to be somewhere in the ballpark of optimal. So this first place list is sporting the 2/2 line of Alchemy VMAX, and I do think Alchemy VMAX is such an incredible card now that Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX has come out, because the Adornment allows you to put so many energy onto the board turn 2, and the Gmax Whisk can basically one-shot anything. I am surprised a little bit to not see the Galarian Articuno non-V Pokemon not in this deck, the one that allows you to play it down and accelerate 2 energy. But maybe once the tag teams rotate, then there will be more room for things like that. So they are playing 1 Gengar Mimikyu and 1 Trevenant Dusknoir tag team, along with the 2/2 Alchemy. So they're not playing a Galarian Zapdos and Aurora Energy in here, which I do like. If you're not expecting the field to kind of demand that you deal with Eternatus, then I think it's fine to not have the Galarian Zapdos. Maybe take a loss or 2 along the way, but if you don't absolutely need to be beating those dark decks 100% of the time, because Alchemy VMAX does also help you against those since it's weak to metal and not weak to dark. So I don't have too much extra to say about this list since it is quite similar to lists that we already have seen. They are playing 1 Marshadow and 2 Training Courts, as opposed to what I've seen a lot of Chaotic Swell around lists that I've noticed. So maybe they were not expecting a lot of Path to the Peak, or maybe Path to the Peak just is not being played as heavily over in the Japanese metagame, and that was just kind of a calculation. I do think 2 bosses orders is a little bit low, but I tend to note that a lot when looking at Japanese lists, so it could just be a metagame thing that they don't value the bosses orders as much, or just how they build their decks there. So other than that, this list looks really solid. Like I said, a few cards off from the popular and successful lists that we've been seeing. They have a split of Pokecom, Evo, and Sense. I'm not sure if that's really correct, or if you should just, you know, go all in with the one you think is better. I kind of prefer Evo Incense in this deck. But yeah, super solid list. Obviously, it won a major Japanese tournament. Like I said, I don't know how many players were in it, but I would guess that it was at least over 1,000 masters, judging by the past magnitude of their tournaments and past participation of the tournaments this size over in Japan. So those are the 2 decks that I wanted to look at today. The first place deck by oh, I didn't say their name. The first place deck by Daisuke Kagoaiki, and then also the second place Mewtwo Umbreon by Nabashi Hirokazu. And like I said, you can watch it over here at this YouTube channel if you so please to. I may do some video reviews, like gameplay reviews, watch the games, or at least some of the matches that I thought were interesting from this live stream, and comment over them for YouTube content. So if you would be interested in watching that, please do let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll leave a link to this YouTube channel in the description down below, as well as Potown Store and PokemonCard.io. So if you want to check out any of those resources, you should have all the links you need in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Pokemon TCG content if you have not already. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.